world that we are living in right now. Our learning this evening is sponsored in memory of the Shloshim of Yaakov Meir ben Baruch, our dear friend Michael Friedman, in memory, dedicated by his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Avraham Eliezer ben Baruch, my grandfather, Mr. Alvin Markowitz, whose 50th yahrzeit took place this past Shabbos, and a week of learning is sponsored by Annette and Jerry Granson, in memory of Mr. Joseph Zimmer, his father, Yosef ben Pesach Aaron Sarah. Our learning serves an Eloi for the Neshamos began Eid Shemala. So tonight, we're going to do a little. I'm not going to have sources on the sheet. I'm not going to do it that way this evening. I'd like to just share some thoughts with everyone about Baruch Hashem. Here in Fairlawn, we've been davening with the Minyan for the past week and a half. We started last week on Monday, and please God, we will continue with gradually getting more tefillos. Bezrat Hashem the Shabbos. Pending the rain, we will have a full Shabbos schedule, and moving forward from there, 3 minyan a day during the week. Bezrat Hashem, things should go well. So I wanted to just share some thoughts about going back to Minyan. And for me, and I waited and I hesitated to talk about this last week or in the beginning of this, because I wanted to remember and bottle up the feelings that I had last week when we first davened that Monday night. But in addition, I don't want this to be a way or commercial or for people who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, health-wise or whatever reason, cannot come to shul yet or don't feel comfortable coming to shul yet. They shouldn't feel like this should motivate them. Because of this, they must come to shul to have this feeling. I guarantee you, whenever that time is, the time is right, when your doctor suggests, and tells you you can go and it's safe to go, then you will go. And Bezrat Hashem, you'll have your own personal feelings and personal thoughts and recollections about re-entry into Minyan. So for me, in Shomrei Torah, we had Minyan pods. We had different locations in our first phase throughout the community to limit the contact that we'd have with everybody else. You'd be limited to your pod, and we had 5 throughout the week, and we had 7, including this past Shabbos. We're in Mincha Marav on the front and the back end of shul as well. My pod started in a base Avel. A long friend of my family, Robert Katz. His mother passed away, who I've known as his mother. I knew as a child. I spent many Yom Tovim and I think even a Pesach Seder with her, Mrs. Vera Katz. And I spent the Shiva week with them davening my first Minyan back together. And for me, that Minyan took place on the corner of Mulat and Susan Place. But for me, I didn't feel like I was in Morlot Avenue or in Susan Place or in a corner or in a backyard. It brought me back to Crawfords. Many of you on the call don't know what Crawfords is, but Crawfords is a coffee place, but now it's more of a restaurant. It brought me back to Crawford. Right now, there's 2 locations for Crawfords. It's not a commercial for them. They're not sponsoring tonight. But there's a Crawfords on Cornell Avenue in Brooklyn and Cornell Avenue P. There's also one in 5 Towns on Central Avenue. The Crawfords that I am referencing, where I went back to, neither of those. There used to be a Crawfords. The original one was a coffee place, strictly coffee and some muffins and a little, maybe ice cream also. It took place, it was on Kings Highway in Brooklyn. And very often when Sarah and I first initially started dating, we spent a lot of time at that coffee place. And it brought me back to a specific memory there. Just full disclosure, Sarah and I dated for quite a long time. Some of you on this Zoom call can quite attest to that. And we had a lot of ups and downs. We had a lot of breakups, back and forth, in and outs. At one point, when I was spending my year in Israel, and Sarah was 2 years younger than me, we had broken up. And at that point, we both really thought we were going in our separate, different ways. But we had one big problem, not problem, but something you need to address, was that we were both spending the summer in the same camp, and we were bound to, interact, communicate, talk to one another, and we haven't spoken for 7 months. It was a week before camp, and it was on my mind for sure when I came back from Israel. I didn't know it was on Sarah's mind, but I remember I just gotten back from Israel. That Friday, I received a phone call from Sarah, and she said, I think before, how's it going? It's a little awkward. We haven't spoken. Let's get back let's talk. I think we should get together. Not get back together, but let's get together to talk, to catch up as friends. Great. That entire Shabbos, that almost ruined my entire Shabbos, because that's all I had in my mind. The entire Shabbos I had in my mind was, what's going to be with this get together with Sarah? What are we going to do? What are we talk about? Is it going to be okay? Is it going to be awkward? Are we on the same page? Does this relationship have a future, or does it not? At that point, I definitely didn't know, and I was nervous the entire week. I usually don't think about what I'm going to wear or how I look. Those weren't things that I was definitely thinking about back then, nor do I really think about that now as much. Got to look presentable, but that's to the extent. And I remember the entire Shabbos, I told my parents at one point over Shabbos, then I told my mother, and my mother was very nervous for me. And I remember Motzei Shabbos, I had 2 friends over for Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, it was like my parents gave me a hug before I left the house. They didn't know what it was going to be. They were nervous for me. What would this relationship look like? Was there anything that I said wrong, when we broke up way back when? Is there any way to repair this relationship? Any way for us to reconnect and reconvene and to communicate? Are we going to be friends? Is there something deeper here? Are we going to continue to go out together? It was a big taboo. And it was because we were separate for so long and we had grown separately throughout those 7 months that we really both didn't know. And we really both didn't know. And I remember I picked her up and we went to Crawfords. And it was Crawfords for me is like that reconnection. What's going to be? What's going to be in this moment where we reconnect, we reconvene, we continue, we begin a relationship? Is there any place for repair? Is there any way to fix it? You're not sure what the other person is thinking. Why did we break up? I wasn't really sure. I think at that point, I'm a guy. I don't really think about, wasn't really sure. And we sort of navigated it through together. And I thought about that this past Sunday night, and I hadn't thought about that moment in our lives. And I was talking about it with Sarah Shabbos for a long time. That was probably 17, 18 years ago at this point. And I haven't thought about it for a long time. And it brought me back, davening with a Minyan for the first time in almost 3 months, brought me back to that moment of reconnection, right? We were growing on our own. Yes, we were davening in our own homes. Yes, we were having beautiful Shabbos meals in our own homes. It wasn't our davening wasn't in the home, in God's home. Our minyanim weren't convening in with God's, with His presence. Chazal tell us, when there's 10 men at the minyan, when you have a minyan, Hashem is waiting for us. That was missing. That was missing from our tefillah, and I didn't know what was going to be. How would I feel? Not seeing Him, so to speak, after a few months of not connecting on that deeper way, not connecting in a tziruf minyan. And how would I feel? Would I say the right words? Would I feel the right way? And the entire day, I have to feel, I haven't felt this way, maybe Erev Yom Kippur. I feel this, maybe Erev Rosh Hashanah. I was nervous the entire day leading up to that tefillah. I was a little bit what's going to be? I'm walking around in circles. Do I look the right way? Am I dressed? Am I going to be presentable before Him? I suggested this on the town hall meeting when we spoke 2 weeks ago, to wear a Shabbos suit. Definitely the first night. Women should wear dresses. Whenever it's their first time on a minyan, this is chashuv. We're meeting the king. If you meet the president, we'd for sure be dressed up in nice clothing. Or more so, Melech Malchei Melchim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty. creator of the world, the heavens and the earth. Of course we should be. Of course we should be. And it brought me back to that moment of reconnection, that brought me back to the moment in Crawfords. And I didn't know what was going to be. And before we even started to daven, everybody got there early. My entire pod, and I guarantee that's true for everybody else and all the other pods. Everybody got there early, and there was a sense of excitement. And it was palpable, and you could feel it. And they said, "Speak, Rabbi, can you speak for a few minutes?" I promise you, I couldn't get words out of my mouth. The second I opened to speak, I started crying. I started to cry, and I really didn't understand completely why I was crying, but the emotion of the day and the emotion of coming back and reconnecting and reconvening a relationship that we don't know why Hashem sent us in exile from our shuls. We don't know why. We're not Nevi'im. But we can guess, we can think, we can ponder, we can talk about it, and we should think about that. We should think about the value of this. But that tefillah that I had that day, the preparation, the hachana that I had for that tefillah was very, very powerful and momentous. That those feelings, those simple feelings of reconnecting, those simple feelings of doing look good for Hashem. Am I excited? Am I looking at the words in the siddur? It's really simple. Our feelings and emotions that I hope I continue to have as Minyan becomes more normal, more part of my daily routine, as it was a few months ago. I'm trying, and I suggested very strongly, and I feel this, and I'm probably going to talk about this more, that we should not bring our cell phones into the. Our cell phones should be outside. We should leave them in cars. We should leave them in the hallways. If you need to bring it in, put it on Do Not Disturb. Put it on silent. It shouldn't be brought in, right? If there are lessons that are to be learned, these are some of them. These are some of them. The Zohar writes something very, very powerful. The Zohar writes in Parshat Vayechi that when individual davens, right, when a person davens on their own, biyechidus, right, that's without a minyan, in order to get those tefillos to the kisei hakavod, to God's heavenly throne, this is a difficult concept to understand, but you need strong force. You need to go there. You need to have deep meditative kavana to get there. However, when someone's davening b'tzibur, it's not even necessary. Of course, it should be there. We have it. We should continue to always strive for greater and greater kavanah and greater iyan tefillah in our davening and work on that continuously. But with a less amount of kavanah, it has a stronger efficacy. Why is that? Because when we are together with the tzibur, we are mitzuref. We connect, we're shtatif with everybody else at our community, in our minyan, and the tefillos all go up together. Hashem can't look at us as one. He can't analyze us as one. He analyzes us all together. And when that happens, we need an easier grade to get it through. The Mishnah Baba Kama tells us that there are Arba Avos Nezikin. And for those that haven't opened the Baba Kama in a long time, but they remember in 5th grade or 6th grade or 8th grade, they learn Arba Avos Nezikin, they know this Mishnah. They remember the Mishnah. What the Mishnah says, there are 4 different types of damagers. What are they? A shor, a boar, a mav, and a hever. A shor is an ox scores. It's your property. Any property that damages goes back to shore. A boar is a pit that you create in a public domain that someone falls into. Hever, the last one is fire. You create a fire that travels from one domain to another. You're responsible for those 3. And what is mav'eh? Mav'eh is not a Hebrew word. It's not a word that we really have in the Hebrew language that we use. What is a mav'eh? The Gemara in Baba Kama, Daf Gimel, writes, mav'eh refers to Adam, to a person, to an individual. Why? Quote pasuk in Sefer Yeshayahu, im tiva'ayun be'av. In the language of mav'eh, the language of mav'eh refers to man, to humanity. Why is that? The language of mav'eh, the shorish of it is to pray, to daven. The definition, Rav Volbe writes this in Ali Shor, the definition of a person, what shows our uniqueness as a human being is our ability to pray, our ability to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu through tefillah. That is something that others do not have. And it makes us special, it makes us unique that we have this ability. And these are some of the thoughts, that ran through my mind as I was trying to focus and hold on to every single word in our tefillah. And as Bezrat Hashem, the news in New Jersey, New York, all around the world. I know in 21 states it's getting worse. And we daven for them. And the news in our area should continue to get better. We should continue to gradually have more minyanim, Bezrat Hashem. But the feelings and the emotions that we have in those first moments where we broke up. It wasn't us, it was them. Who knows whose responsibility it was? It's not you, it's me. In the break, we don't know. In the ability to come together for a cup of coffee, to open up one's inner, and to sit and to talk and to pour out our hearts, that's a very special feeling. And those are feelings that if we haven't done yet, and when we're going to, we should take our time to think about that, how we're going to prepare for it, and when it's there, take advantage of the moment, but then to bottle up those feelings. Bottle them up. Hold on to them, and go back to them. The Baal Shem Tov, and I conclude with this. They asked the Baal Shem Tov, but he's much later on in his life. My father-in-law likes to quote this. They asked the Baal Shem Tov, how do you daven? I see you're davening so passionately, so fervently, so sincerely. He said, when I was a young boy, I tried to daven with all these mystical thoughts and feelings, and I learned more and more deeper sodos and tefillah, more secrets. But then ultimately in my later years, I realized, those are great, those are wonderful. But now when I daven right now, you saw my tefillah and you said it was so passionate. I was davening like a child, trying to understand every single word, right? Some of us on the call right now, their children, their grandchildren received their first siddur. The first time that a child opens up the siddur and they're going, Hashem, Svasai, Tiftach, slowly. There's no rush. And the Baal Shem Tov says, that's how I daven like a child that received a siddur for the first time. And that's so inspiring. Somebody called me right afterwards. He was on fire. One of our Gabayim. He said to me, Rabbi, I wasn't even sure what siddur to bring, right? I was talking about the clothing. He said, I don't know siddur to bring. And he says, you know what siddur I brought? I brought the siddur that I used at my bar mitzvah. I felt like that was the moment. It was back to that. How amazing is that? Such an inspiring moment, for 1 hour in Mispalim. And he said, I brought that siddur because that's the feeling that I had that first time, that first moment when you become a gadol, you become a man, right? And that's what he had. And Bezrat Hashem, we should continue to do good news. Everyone should be healthy. Our family should be healthy. We should only hear good things. Bestoros tovos within our communities, within our families, within Klal Yisrael, and within the entire world. I wish everybody
Amen.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos
Yimul Lizok. We should daven well, and we should really, really continue to on this path.
Amen. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.